What if the balance of global power shifted under our noses, and no one was ready for it? It's January 2025, and BRICS, the economic bloc once dismissed as an ambitious experiment, has taken a bold step forward. Russia has just confirmed 23 countries are lining up to join. That's right, nearly 24 nations are ready to bet their futures on a new global order. One that challenges existing financial norms and introduces a broader, more inclusive framework for global cooperation. But here's the twist. This isn't just a headline. It's the beginning of an economic recalibration with far-reaching implications. With Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, and Indonesia, a pivotal Southeast Asian player, now part of the bloc, BRICS isn't just expanding its membership, it's reshaping the global stage. So, how did we get here? Why are so many countries eager to join this alliance? And what could this mean for the future of the US dollar? And by extension, your household finances? Stick around because the answers might surprise you. On January 1st, 2025, BRICS officially launched its most ambitious chapter yet. Brazil, holding the bloc's presidency this year, wasted no time in expanding its roster. The first edition, Indonesia, a Southeast Asian powerhouse with a GDP exceeding $1 trillion and a population of nearly 280 million. Joining alongside it was Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, boasting over $500 billion in GDP and vast reserves of oil, gas, and minerals. This isn't just about boosting numbers. These two nations bring strategic depth to BRICS. Nigeria's inclusion strengthens the bloc's foothold in Africa, a continent often overlooked in global economic decision-making. Meanwhile, Indonesia's membership cements BRICS' influence over critical global trade routes, such as the Strait of Malacca. Together, they signal BRICS' intent to diversify its power base beyond traditional economic centers. But why does this matter? BRICS members already represent 37% of global GDP and account for 55% of the world's population. By adding nations from regions historically dominated by Western influence, the bloc is positioning itself as a legitimate alternative to Western-led coalitions like the G7. But what about the other 21 nations seeking membership? What do they hope to gain? And how does BRICS plan to manage this surge of interest? Let's explore. Russia's announcement that 23 countries are eager to join BRICS isn't just a sign of the bloc's growing influence. It's a statement about global dissatisfaction with the current financial system. Nations from Bangladesh to Venezuela, from Morocco to Pakistan, view BRICS as more than an economic alliance. For many, it's a way out of dependency on Western-led institutions like the IMF and World Bank. For Venezuela and Nigeria, the stakes are particularly high. Both are oil-rich nations, yet their economies have suffered due to reliance on US dollar-denominated trade systems. BRICS offers them a chance to bypass the volatility of the dollar and regain control over their natural resources. For smaller nations like Burkina Faso or Myanmar, BRICS represents an opportunity to secure development financing without the political strings often attached to Western loans. Meanwhile, the new development bank, BRICS' financial arm, is emerging as a critical tool. Unlike the IMF, which often imposes austerity measures, the new development bank provides loans tailored to infrastructure and renewable energy projects. In 2024 alone, it approved over $20 billion in projects across Africa and Asia, focusing on green technology and digital transformation. But with such diverse applicants, how does BRICS plan to maintain cohesion? What challenges could arise from this influx of new members? We'll dive into that next. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the US dollar. For decades, the dollar has been the backbone of global trade, giving the United States significant influence over international finance. But that dominance has also created vulnerabilities for other nations. Here's the issue. When the dollar strengthens, weaker economies suffer. When the US imposes sanctions, it can freeze out entire nations from the global market. BRICS aims to challenge this by promoting the use of local currencies and trade agreements. Take Indonesia as an example. As a major exporter of energy and agricultural products, Indonesia's entry into BRICS could facilitate trade with other member nations like China and Russia using their respective currencies, the yuan and the rupiah. This strategy not only reduces dependency on the dollar, but also insulates members from economic shocks tied to US monetary policy. Critics argue that de-dollarization is easier said than done. After all, the dollar still accounts for 60% of global reserves, and transitioning away from it requires robust financial systems. Yet, progress is undeniable. India and Russia have already begun trading oil in rupees and rubles. Brazil, meanwhile, is increasingly using the yuan for its agricultural exports. What does this mean for ordinary people? For consumers in BRICS nations, reduced reliance on the dollar could lead to more stable local currencies, potentially lowering inflation and boosting purchasing power. However, for Western households, the impact might be felt in rising import prices, particularly for energy and goods sourced from BRICS countries. Imagine higher utility bills during winter or fluctuating grocery prices as global trade shifts. But can BRICS overcome its internal challenges to truly establish an alternative financial system? Let's take a closer look. With 23 countries eager to join, BRICS faces a critical question. Should it expand quickly or adopt a more selective approach? According to Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, the bloc's focus is on quality, not quantity. New members must align with BRICS's core values: economic sovereignty, mutual respect, and reducing dependency on Western financial systems. Take Pakistan and Venezuela as case studies. Pakistan's strategic location, connecting South Asia to Central Asia and the Middle East, offers immense geopolitical leverage. Venezuela, on the other hand, brings vast oil reserves that could bolster BRICS's energy independence. But what about smaller applicants like Cambodia or Honduras? Do they offer enough strategic value to justify membership? Western nations are watching this expansion closely. The G7 has already announced plans to counter BRICS influence. Recent G7 initiatives include enhanced trade agreements with African and Asian nations, as well as increased investment in renewable energy projects to outpace BRICS financing capabilities. The US, in particular, is focusing on strengthening its alliances through the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Could this competition between BRICS and the West lead to a new economic divide? What industries are most at risk? Let's explore further. BRICS' greatest strength, its diversity, is also its greatest challenge. With members like China and India who have a history of geopolitical tensions, maintaining unity is no small task. Disputes over border issues and trade imbalances have occasionally threatened to derail the bloc's cohesion. Economic disparities among members also pose a challenge. While China's GDP exceeds $17 trillion, South Africa's economy is just $400 billion. Aligning policies across such a wide economic spectrum requires careful negotiation. However, BRICS is addressing these challenges head-on. Recent summits have emphasized conflict resolution mechanisms and equitable decision-making. For example, Brazil's presidency has prioritized creating a framework for fair trade agreements that account for economic disparities. But can BRICS turn these internal challenges into opportunities for growth? And how might this affect its ambitious projects in renewable energy and technology? Latin America's growing involvement in BRICS highlights the bloc's focus on renewable energy. Countries like Bolivia and Chile, which hold over 50% of the world's lithium reserves, are central to the global transition to electric vehicles. By integrating these nations, BRICS could dominate supply chains for green technologies. The potential consumer impact is significant. For instance, If BRICS establishes new supply routes for lithium outside Western control, it could lead to cheaper batteries for electric vehicles in member nations. On the flip side, Western automakers might face higher costs, potentially increasing car prices for consumers in the US and Europe. Meanwhile, BRICS-led renewable energy projects could transform underdeveloped regions. Imagine solar farms in sub-Saharan Africa or wind energy hubs in Argentina, creating jobs and reducing energy costs for millions. Here's where we stand. BRICS is expanding, the US dollar's dominance is being questioned, and the global power balance is shifting, but this raises a critical question. Could these developments lead to a global economic split, or even financial conflicts between East and West? What would this mean for industries like green energy, technology, and even your monthly utility bills? The answers are coming, but they won't be simple. What's your take? Is BRICS poised to succeed? Or are there cracks in its foundation? Let's keep the conversation going. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.